Dear students, welcome back to the third part of our public facilities. As we have completed more than half of the chapter in the previous two videos, hopefully you must have watched those videos carefully and have understood the concept of the chapter. Now, in today's video, we will sum up the chapter. Now, we will start with the topic water supply to Chennai. Is it available to all? We will see that as water is supplied in Chennai, is it reaching to the each and every person of its city? So, while there is no doubt that public facilities should be made available to all, it means whatever the facilities are being provided by the government, they all are said to be as public facilities. And if we are using the word public with this, it means these facilities are for all, not for any one person. So, but in reality is different. There is a great shortage of the such facilities. It means facilities are there, but they are not reaching to the needed person. Now, in rest of the chapter, we will read about the provision of water, which we have seen is a public facility of great importance. Now, as our topic is about the Chennai. So, water supply in Chennai, as we saw at the beginning, is marked by the shortages. As we were having the four different localities in the starting of the chapter, in which we have seen the different conditions of the people living in four different localities of the Chennai. So, municipal supply meets only about half of the needs of the people of the city. On an average, there are areas which get more regularly than others. It means what they have said that whatever the areas, those who are the near storage points, it means where the water is stored, those areas used to get the more supply of the water, but the areas from the storage water point is far, so those areas used to get the lesser water. So the burden of shortfall in water supply falls on the poor. Whatever the burden is of the shorter water supply, mostly it is seen on the poor persons, because if any middle class person or any rich person is there and he or she is suffering from the shortage of any kind of water facility, he or she can arrange easily the water, different water facilities, like they can arrange the digging water wells, they can buy the water from the tankers, and still they can use the bottled water for drinking. Apart from the availability, so what we have seen that different kind of people can arrange the products or resources according to their conditions. And if we are talking about the availability of water, the main, the most important thing is you can get the water, but the question is to getting the safe water. It means safe drinking water is mandatory for you to survive. Now, once again, the wealthy have more choices, and thanks to the booming market in the bottled and the water purifier. Now, why the only rich persons are having this kind of facility? Because the water that is coming into the bottles and the people are purchasing, that is increasing the demand of those bottled waters. And as the development is increasing, as the problems are changing, so the price of that particular bottled water is also getting high. So that is also the problem for the poor person, because those who can afford, they can easily get the bottle, but the poor persons are again left out. In reality, therefore, it seems that it is only people with money have right to water, a far cry from the goal universal access to sufficient and safe water. It means we are only saying that all should get the water, every person has right of water, but what is the reality? In reality, the poor persons are very far to achieve this success or to achieve this goals. Now, as you can see, there's a picture of a lady. What it is depicting that in rural areas, what is needed for both human use and for use by the cattle also. So the sources water are well, hand pumps, ponds, and sometimes overhead tanks. Much of these are privately owned. Compared to the urban areas, there is an even greater shortage of public water supply in rural areas. Because if you are living in an urban area, there you know to whom you have to contact if you are having any kind of shortage of water. But in rural areas, they don't have any proper departments to which the people can contact easily. So this problem is very serious in the rural areas. Now there's a story about the water. The topic of this story is taking water from the farmers. Now this story name is taking water from the farmers. Now in this story, what you will see that there are so many water private companies. It means there are so many companies which used to provide you water but at a cost. So, what these private companies are doing, whenever there is a shortage of anything, it means somewhere it is creating opportunity for the other persons. So, shortage of water is same thing, that whenever there is shortage of water, it means so many private companies are coming into the market which providing you the water. But remember, you need to pay a cost there. Okay, so there were so many private companies which are providing water to cities. How they are providing you? Firstly, they are buying it from the farmers and they are giving you to the other persons. Okay, now in Chennai, water is taken out from nearby towns like Mamandir, Palur, Karunzgi, and there are some villages to the north of the city using a fleet of over 13,000 water tankers. Every month, the water dealers pay farmers in advance for the rights to exploit water resources on their land. This water is not even now taken away not just from the agriculture but also from the drinking water supply of the villagers. Now, what the villagers and the farmers are also doing, they are extracting the water from the ground not only for agriculture but now they have also become some greedy. What they are doing, they are taking out the water for the agriculture purpose and rest of the water they are selling to these private companies, which they are further selling it to the persons those who need the water but at a cost. So what is this process happening? Due to this process, the groundwater level is decreasing, and due to which we cannot see the problem right now, but in future definitely we are going to see so much shortage of water due to this kind of practice. So now, next we are having the topic in search of alternatives. It means that you are having the choices. So whatever the situation we have read about the Chennai, it is not unique. It means we can say that it is not happening only in Chennai. It is a similar scenario of shortage and acute crisis which the many states of the India used to face in the summer months. And this shortage in municipal water is increasingly being filled by the expansion of private companies. It means if there is any shortage, there are so many private companies which are here for you that can provide you the water. But remember, they will charge a cost to pay to get the water to you. So those who are selling the water for profit, the tap water which is getting it to your home, you don't have to pay anything regarding of the water tax, and that is also very minimal amount. But when private companies are providing you that water, they are charging a cost for that. So it creates a great inequalities. The supply of water per person in an urban area in India should be 135 liters per day. It means if you talk about that, if a person is living in a city, he has to need only 7 buckets per day. And if a person is living near slum areas, he hardly needed a 1 bucket to use a whole day. But if you again do the comparison between the persons who are living in the luxury hotels, they uses up to 80 buckets per day. You can see the difference. One is using 7 buckets, one person using hardly 1 bucket, and other are using 80 buckets per day. So that is the difference, that is the inequality that is creating. So a shortage of water, municipal water, is often taken as a sign of failure of the government. It means wherever it is shortage, you can see that shortage is the sign of the failure of that particular government. Some people argued that since the government is unable to supply the amount of water that is needed, many of the municipal water departments are running at a loss. It means So many people are there, so they will speak so many different kind of point of view. Some used to speak that if water is not coming at your home at a regular pace, so it means somewhere the municipal corporation is at lows. So we should allow private companies to take over the task of the water supply. According to them, private companies can perform the task better. And we can also say sometimes it is correct, because we know, as you must have read the different kind of chapters of inequalities in your class 7, where there were so many stories. One lady was there, her daughter was ill and she has to take to the hospital to her daughter. What she has faced that in the government hospital there was a huge line and she has to wait there for a long time. But if she had the resources, she had the enough resources, she could have got the better treatment of her daughter. But the point was she was not having the enough resources, and the proper treatment was available only at the private hospitals. So if something private companies are doing, they are doing it for the profit. And if we do something for the profit, we try to provide it in a better and best quality. But the government is doing all the work for the welfare. So some people used to think that government is not doing, or government is not putting the proper effort what it should put. So now consider these following fact. We can also say that throughout the world, water supply is a function of the government. So there are very few instances of private water supply. If we will say that we can shift to the private water supply, but it would take a huge time, a long time we can also say, because the whole world this water supply function is done by the government only. Now again there's a story about a city that is Port Alger. Now there's a city that is Porto Alger, and this city is in Brazil. Now this story is about that in the city there are very less number of infant death. Infant is a baby who is less than the age of 1 year. Okay, so in this city there are very less number of infant death as compared to the other cities. Thus, why this is happening? Because the city's water department has achieved the universal access to the safe water, and this is the main reason behind the lower number of the infant death. Now what we can conclude that the water department of that city is working very well. It means it is doing its duty very properly. And what is the result after this? You can see that there is so many lesser number of infant death. It means the infant mortality rate of that particular city is very less. So the average price of the water is kept very low. Poor are changed after the basic rate. Whatever the profit that department makes is used to improve the water supply. It means the department is not working for the profit, that it's only working for the welfare of its people. So how this happening? Through a process of public meetings, people hear what the managers had to say and also vote on their priorities. There are areas in the world where public water supply has achieved universal access. In few cases, where the responsibility for water supply has handed over to the private companies, there was a steep rise in the price of the water. It means whenever it comes to the hands of the private companies, we can see the price of the water is also starting increasing. So, which creates a huge protest with riots breaking out in the places like Bolivia, forcing the government to take back the service from the private hands. It means whenever this kind of situation used to arise, the people start demanding that the government should take back all these kind of responsibilities from the private companies. Now within India, there are cases of success in government water department, though these are very few in number and limited to certain areas of their network. So the water supply department in Mumbai raises enough money through water charges to cover its expenses on supplying water. It means if we are talking about the success of the government also in the water departments, it means whatever we have read till now, we have only spoke about the negativity of the government, but it is not same in all the regions. Some reason what the government is also succeeding in the water departments, as they have discussed about the examples of Mumbai and Hyderabad. And in Hyderabad, a report shows that department has increased coverage and improved performance in revenue collection also. In Chennai, the department has taken several initiatives for harvesting rainwater to increase the level of groundwater. So, we can also speak about the positivity of the government, but it is very limited. Government has to put more efforts for increasing these kind of things. So, it has also used the services of private company for transporting and distributing water, but the government water supply decides the rate for the water tankers and give them permission to operate. Hence, they are called on contract. It means whatever the whatever the private companies are providing to you, at what cost they are charging, they all are set by the government. It means hence they are said to be their own contract. Now you can see there are two pictures. What they are showing that Mumbai's suburban railways well functioning public transport system. It is the densest route in the world, attending to 65 lakh passengers daily, extending over a distance of 300 kilometer. These local trains allow people living far away from the Mumbai to find work in the city. That the high cost of house in cities make it impossible for an average worker to live in the city. It means so many people used to travel in the local trains of the Mumbai, and as it is a very expensive city, so it is not affordable to every person to live there. So many people used to just travel. Now, if we will talk about the extending sanitation facilities, there are so many different kind of facilities also. Like beside safe drinking water, sanitation is also a very common matter. So sanitation is must in prevention of the waterborne diseases. However, the sanitation coverage in India is even lower than that of the water. Official figures about the census that has occurred in 2011 shows that 87% of the household in India have access to drinking water. About 53% have access to the sanitation. So all this is all about the sanitation. Now we have come to the conclusion of the chapter. This is the last topic of the chapter. Now we will conclude what we have read in all of these videos. So, what we can say that public facilities relate to our basic needs, and the constitution recognize the right to water, health, education, etc. They all are the part of our right to life that comes under the article 21. So thus one of the major role of the government is to ensure adequate public facilities for everyone. But progress on this front has been far from satisfactory. There is a shortage in supply and there are inequalities in distribution also. As we know that human demands are unlimited, but the resources availability is so limited. So there will be always a shortage. So compared to the metros and large cities, towns and villages are underprovided. Compared to wealthy localities, the poor localities are underserviced. Handing over these facilities to private companies may not be the answer. So what they are trying to say that metropolitan cities or large cities have so many facilities as compared to the towns and villages. The persons who live used to live in the wealthy localities or those who are wealthy or rich, they have more access to the resources as compared to the poor localities. So if everything will come in the hands of the private companies, it will not be the solution for everyone. So, any solution needs to take account of the important fact that every citizen of the country has a right to these facilities, which should be provided to him or her in an equitable manner. So, when we can say that there will be equality for all these public facilities also, when these facilities will be provided to everyone in a equitable manner, it means how much is the need of the person, that much only they are getting. So now we have ended the chapter. Now this your chapter public facilities is completed. Hope you have understood the whole concept, whole chapter. If you have any doubt, you can just note down and ask to your teacher. Thank you. That's all for today.